January 2026. This is the S&P 500 E futures mini on the 2000 tick chart using NinjaTrader 8. This is what the chart looked like today. There's no real economic data that came out except I think like President Trump came out to speak at right around this time, and he spoke for like about an hour on all kinds of things. And it just, I would say, it kind of happened coincidentally with this big sell-off. And other than that, there was no real other economic data. So kind of what the chart looked like. It was a sell-off bounce sideways, looks like a leg up, a downward sloping kind of a range, and then a big sell-off, another sideways, and into the close. So I took a total of two trades, one here and one here. They're both profitable. That's how I drew up the charts. Now, as I was looking at this, I kept looking back in hindsight. There were these really nice big legs with really small, well, not small, relatively speaking, like pretty controlled tight channels that I wished I had been able to find a way to enter, because if you had some runners, it looks like you were able to probably ride some of these big moves down. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to. It's also a Tuesday because this is MLK, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and there was trading for the futures yesterday, but I didn't bother because this is just how much price action that was yesterday. So it's not really worth, well, not really worth spending half a day or a few hours looking at. So I'm getting to the charts right now. So the pre-market, it was just kind of choppy. Then it had this big sell-off, spike, and kind of like a more shallow channel. Sideways consolidation to bounce. Looked like it was another spike and in a shallow channel. Overshoot here, and then it kind of went to a sideways consolidation. And right at the open, it broke out of this range. So there was no real setups here. There's a new high. It's a first entry long pullback. Technically, you have a second entry long right here off this red candle, but this red candle, I mean, there's really nothing, no real setup here. You don't know that it's going to do this, so there's no real chance to try to take a trade like here. Pushes up, and it looks like it's kind of just moving sideways. It's a new high. It's a first entry long pullback, second entry long. I don't like the signal bar. You have a higher low here, but this higher low, it just feels a little congested. It is a higher low. There is enough room to the highs of this range, but I don't know at this point that I'm necessarily in a valid range. Pushes up. Then it creates this triple test and a failed breakout. I call it an almost trade because in real time, I couldn't quite, you know, piece together that it was going to do this. So I thought maybe there's going to be a failed breakout. There is a potential triple test. Then you actually have a new low, first entry short pullback, second entry short. Second entry short's confirmed after this doji bar and this big push down. But during real time, it's hard to trust or know, or at least for me, to get an idea of where there's going to move up or down based off of doji. So it's an almost trade because there's no way, at least for me, to figure out that it was going to do something like this. Pushes down, bounces, so I now see a one touch, two touch, three touch, potential triple test. Now I think I really am in a range. Clearly a new high. It's a first entry long. Technically, you have a second entry long. You could argue maybe there's a first entry long pullback, second entry long, but this is just kind of going the same direction. I don't have this channel confirmed, this range confirmed yet, till about right here, because this follow through candle doesn't give me much confidence to go long. Then you have this one, which is just kind of spiked below and then pushed back up, but also closed a little ambiguous. Then this guy, it does break below a little lower and then kind of close at the high. I needed this guy ideally to close the high here for me to even consider a trade. Of course, when this candle shows up, the trade has already been made. So I'm looking for and hoping for a higher low. You might get a higher low here. It's a break of this red up channel, but the higher low never shows up, so it actually breaks below. Then I actually think you have a higher low here. Actually, these two combined. So I thought this is a possible trade. I didn't take it though. It's a break of this red up channel. It needs to test the high. Clearly, I think I'm in a range. It's coming from the bottom. It's a decent signal bar. Technically, it didn't break below here, but it engulfed this completely. What would have just really sealed the deal if this had closed the high, then I think I might have tried to jump on this because my expectation is going to be moving back to the top of the range. And it looks like it did. Pushes, I think there's a failed breakout here and a potential second entry short, but I call it another almost trade because it's a first entry short pullback, second entry short, second entry short. I just didn't like the color of the signal bar. Now I'm looking for a lower high inside this range. You get a lower high here. Of course, you don't know what's going to happen here, and then you finally get a lower high here. I call it an almost trade just because it looks like it's moving into this range. EMA isn't super valid yet, or not valid. EMA is always there, but it's not reliable as a key entry point. So I don't know that it's necessarily going to stop here or act as a bounce point. But I do know the EMA itself, which is bubbled in right now, this guy, is turning a little bit more bullish. It breaks through, so and the signal bar isn't the right color, so I call it an almost trade. Pushes down. I'm expecting a failed breakout on this side. So it makes break of this orange down channel, makes one attempt, and then it doesn't make the second attempt. So now what I'm noticing is like this price action looks like it's making higher lows every time. And it's making sequentially higher highs. There's this high, but then this one's broken and maybe a little bit higher. This one breaks it, goes a little higher. This one breaks it, goes a little higher. So now it looks like this range is in jeopardy of being valid anymore. It looks like prices might be starting to undergo more of a breakout to the high side. Also, I have no idea why this spiked like this. Pushes up, I thought there's another failed breakout out here, and I thought, okay, there's a new low, first entry short pullback, second entry short. Second entry short, the only problem is I saw this in real time. I was hoping for this to close the low, and maybe it'd come back down, break back into the range, but it ended up pulling back at the last, well, not the last moment, but it ended up buying back up to this close. So called an almost trade, nothing really happened, just something I noticed. Pushes down, you do get a lower high, break of this orange down channel, lower high, but it's just a little ambiguous now. And plus, my mind is currently affected by the fact that I just said that there's making higher highs and higher lows. So where is this guy going to stop? Because my thinking is I'm not so sure it's going to come back down to test the low of this range. It might just stop somewhere here and abruptly move back up. So that just gives me a little bit of pause. Then you get two dojis in a row, which doesn't help the cause. Starts pushing back up and actually comes back down and tests the low. Now it's breaking through. So I'm watching carefully. Technically, you have a localized high. It's a first entry long pullback. You have a second entry long here, but it really never broke below this guy, so it's not really that clean. Looks like it might be moving back into this range. And it actually has a new low, first entry short pullback, second entry short. Now, I actually marked this trade after I saw it happen, so it's hard for me to claim that it's a possible trade if you're more in tune than I am. I did have a potential trend line down here, so I didn't really turn it into a channel yet. It was something closer to this. And then later I extended it out to here thinking this might be a failed breakout. Because when I had it here, I was thinking this failed breakout could cause a failed breakout out here. So when it created this confirmed second entry short and follow through, I thought, okay, well, there's a visual first entry short, pullback, second entry short. There's not really any way, at least for me, to trust this, but it is a possible trade if you took it on the engulfing. Because if you're just going for a 1 point scalp, you would have gotten it. Even a 2 point scalp, you would have gotten it. But then again, for me, I couldn't have seen it, or I didn't see it in time till pretty much this candle showed up. Then price would continue moving. When I did see this, I was hoping for a lower high right around here. Maybe this guy would have ticked above this guy, and this guy didn't touch the EMA, then reject down. Then I would have tried to jump in there. But unfortunately, I missed the trade. No go. At this point, I did extend the range, not the range, but the channel to look something like this. Small little break here, but it is looking like prices are following this yellow down channel. This break of this orange up channel test the high, just gets a little congested, localized high, first entry long, no trade, pushes back up. Break of the green up channel has tested the high, and it keeps going up higher. So now I'm just watching. I'm not so sure prices are going to come back down now. I see a potential spike and then a channel, this shallow channel, but this is just two side by side. I don't really want to get involved in something like right here. Pushes up to the high. There's no clean second entries. This is the start of me. Well, not really, but I just started noticing like, okay, there's these big swings, and then later you're going to see big legs that move nicely up and down that I really wished I had found a way to try to enter them. Break this orange up channel, test one attempt. This could have been a second attempt, but I don't like that this is just an inside bar. So I do have a first entry long pullback, second entry long. I'm looking for a higher low now, which is then you get your higher low. Your higher low, first entry long pullback, second entry long. EMA is starting to act as somewhat of a support. There was a small violation here, but it's confirming the second entry long, bounce off the EMA. Break of this orange up channel needs to test the high, so everything's going for it. and it's a good signal bar. Enough room for 1 point scalp. I didn't enter though, because I wanted to see this break above this guy, even though I was planning on dropping my order right at the highs here. Once this opened, never broke above, I canceled the order, closed it to low, and I thought, okay, I dodged a bullet. Then here, if I stuck around, it would have, you know, picked me up, and then it would have given me the trade. But I'm okay with this. If you had better conviction than I did, trust the setup, then you would have probably entered on this one and then gotten your 1 or 2 point scalp. But as I said, after the follow through on this one, I didn't like the looks of it. I was concerned it might come back down. So, deleted my trade. Prices then continue moving, starts moving down this orange down channel. This blue range doesn't exist yet. It shows up later. Break this orange down channel, test the low, starts moving sideways. You have 3 dojis in a row. I noticed, okay, there's probably some kind of support here. So that's where I actually drew potential support area, because it looked like maybe there's a test here you could argue for, maybe a second test, but it's clearly not a range yet. So it's a new low. Technically, a first entry short pullback. You have a second entry short, but it's not very clean. I saw it more as a visual first entry short. You get a triple test, which is bouncing off my support area. You have a second entry long here. So it's a new high. It's a first entry long pullback, second entry long. Second entry long, I called almost trade. I wasn't sure that this green up channel is valid yet, because really only have one touch, 2 point touches. You don't really have a third touch yet. So it moves up, hits the high side, starts coming back down. You have first entry long. You technically have a second entry long here, but it's an inside bar, so I'm not a big fan of that. Break, tested low. I'm watching for a bounce off of here, but it never shows up. As I said, I was thinking if there's a range here, if there's support of the range here, there's clearly a potential fail breakout here. It moves back into this range, which I'm not certain the high is here, because I thought, okay, it actually could be here, or actually could be somewhere here. I'm gonna leave it there for now. Pushes up. Break of this orange up channel, test the highs, the first entry long. You don't really get anything after that. No setups, I'm just watching and waiting. As you can see, I drew, kind of moved a little bit. Moved again. I drew this as a potential trend line coming down, and I put it another low side, but I don't trust it enough to color it in as an actual channel yet. But I'm thinking this could start being in play. Pushes down, has a little bit of a reaction right at the support, but it just kind of ignores it and pushes down, starts coming back up. First entry short, pushes back in. Now, the problem here is the same problem I had with this, which is making higher lows every time and higher highs. Now on the reversal, it's making lower highs and lower lows. So I'm wondering if this original range is still valid, or it might be starting to develop into this slightly bearish bias down channel. So it's a new low, first entry short pullback, second entry short. I didn't like the signal bar, so I definitely wasn't going to try to take this trade. Then seeing this big push down, I was weary to see if there was a lower high, but would I trust it? Because this is a large candle, relatively speaking, for today. Never shows up, so I never had to deal with that. Pushes down, it bounces off this low side, rockets back up. I'm expecting a reaction touch off the high side, and it kind of struggles, doesn't quite get there, creates a new high, say first entry long pullback, second entry long failure. Now overall, the bias is drifting lower. Break of this orange up channel has tested the high, so it's already tested the high. This could have been the second attempt. The second attempt looked like it's now failing. This failing, EMA isn't super reliable as a key entry point because you have prices moving both above and below it. So it's not really respecting the EMA. It's almost as if the EMA is invisible. It does give you a little bit of an inkling of probably where prices are moving, but keep in mind, even though it's a 21 EMA, it is a trailing indicator. So it's kind of showing you what has happened in the past, last 21 points or 21 bars. So in this case, it's providing no clear guidance. So although it's breaking below the EMA, I'm not really using that as a caution or a support for any kind of trade that I want to take. But I did see this as a failed second entry long. And I like that I moved one tick above this guy, flushed down. Although it didn't engulf this guy, I really wish it would have. And then it flushes down. Prices continue moving. This creates your second entry short right here. It's a new low. It's a first entry short pullback. Now, this is not a clean second entry short, but I thought it was a possible trade because it is kind of getting a rejection off the EMA, which I had just said isn't super reliable, but it's may be in play, but you can't use it as a solid key entry point. What I did notice was there is a potential trend line, which I have turned it into a channel. From here, one touch, two touch, three touch. This is technically a fourth touch. I like that the signal bar closed to the low. And although it's an inside bar, it looks like it's a first entry short pullback. It looked like even if this is just one big move, there was enough momentum to try to press this down. Now, it's a little hard for me to kind of describe it after the fact, but when watching this in real time, I was watching this candle, count down its ticks, and as it was struggling and losing toward the end, I thought, okay, there's actually a potential trade here. So I actually got my order ready, but I was too slow. So when I got my order ready, because I took too long debating on this, which is fine because this is an inside bar. When I saw it close, I said, there's probably a trade here. I'm going to get an order ready. Had my order up here, started to watch. It opens and pushes down. So as I was trying to drag it down in time to enter, it already moved, I think about 1.5 points or about 6 ticks. And I thought, okay, well, now I've missed this opportunity. Not the end of the world. Don't chase this thing because I definitely don't want it to come back up or change its mind, come back up, flushed back to the high side. So possible trade. I was a little slow on it. It is a little more aggressive in my opinion, a little riskier. And then prices continue moving down. So this is one of the legs that starts moving down in this really nice controlled fashion that I wish I had found a way to enter. So new low. This is where I take my first trade though. So this new low, it's a first entry short pullback, second entry short. The second entry short, I was playing this yellow down channel, just slightly adjusted about right here. It looks a little cleaner now. This is I didn't really, there is a break here, but I didn't really see it as a break that's quite as important as a break here. So prices are moving down this yellow down channel. It's a first entry short pullback, second entry short. EMA here is a little more reliable because it's kind of following a trend. It's going down, prices are going down. I saw this and I said, this is only a 6-tick candle. So my total risk will be about 7 because I keep it one tick above here, not up here or up here because it doesn't make sense. I saw it as a first entry short, second entry short. Although it's a green signal bar, I thought it was bearish enough. There's enough momentum for a quick 1-point scalp. So I entered here, got my 1 point, moved my stop quickly from 1 tick above here to 1 tick below my entry, and unfortunately it came back up and stopped me. Then prices continue moving. If I hung around for too long, or if I tried to go for more than probably 2 points, this candle would have stopped me out. So then prices continue moving, pushes down, no clean second entries, localized high, first entry long pullback. Technically have a second entry long, but it's bouncing off the middle of nowhere. It feels like you'd be trying to pick the bottom. You do have a higher low here, but everything's telling me just wait. Don't go long on what you just saw to the right or to the left. Everything looks like it's kind of falling. So not something I really want to take. Also, in the news streams that I've been following, there's announcements that, okay, Trump's going to come out and start saying some things. Not that necessarily he can affect the markets in the long term. Oh, I take that back. He can affect the markets in the long term and short term because whatever he says could cause a knee-jerk reaction. So it was running 950, 954, and I heard that news and I thought, okay, well, don't do anything ambitious right now. Prices then continue moving. It starts potentially moving down this gray down channel, but it looks like it's more range bound. Localized high, first entry long pullback, second entry long, bottom of the range. I just didn't like that this, even if you're following range rules, I just didn't like that this signal bar came right after 2 doji bars. And it's not even the favorable signal bar for the direction I wanted to go. So it keeps going, breaks down, starts moving back down. Now, there are second entries all over the chart, but they're not good contextually. So prices moved down. I wish I could have jumped on this somehow, but I wasn't able to find a way. There's a new low, first entry short pullback, second entry short, second entry short. Maybe there was a trade here. I was debating it because it looks like it's following in this tight yellow down channel. I just really couldn't justify taking the trade because it happened very quickly because it's like a first entry short, second entry short. This is giving me a little bit of confusion, ambiguity, because it is closing at the high. If the EMA had at least come back down here, this blue line came back to give me another reason to go short, I would have taken it. But based off of just the second entry setup and this yellow down channel resistance, it may have been like maybe two reasons to take a trade, but just not good enough. And prices continue moving down. This is like a really nice move down. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to jump on this. It's a first entry short. Technically, you have a second entry short here. First entry short, second entry short. I don't like that it's a doji, although the overall bias is coming down. I wasn't thrilled with it, so I was looking for a lower high. This actually sets me up for my second trade. So it's a new low, first entry short pullback, second entry short, break of this orange up channel, tested the high. I'm looking for a confirmation. This confirmation shows up here. I will admit I didn't wait for this candle. Didn't mean to do that. Drag it over a little bit. I didn't wait for this candle to close. I took it on the engulfing because as it was moving and it broke below this guy pretty solidly, I said, okay, I want to jump in on this trade. Put my entry here. It actually picked me up on the way back up. And when it came back, so it opened here, did a bunch of stuff. I thought, okay, I like this setup. Looks like it's going to stay below the EMA. Breaks below, drop my order here. It comes back up, picks me up on this direction I don't want it to go, closes here, and I thought, I might have made a mistake. So then it opens and fortunately it flushes down and gives me a 1 point scalp. When I saw that, I thought, okay, well, I'm not going to go for a runner because when it picked me up on the high side, I go, okay, well, I clearly just need to get the heck out of here. Got the 1 point runner, excuse me, not 1 point runner, got the entire position off of 1 point. Not going to attempt fate. In this case, it would have worked, but the runner likely would have gotten stopped out. I don't quite remember how this one reacted, but if it didn't get stopped out here, it would have gotten stopped out by this guy. Then prices continue moving down. Again, this really nice, very orderly leg down. Unfortunately, there was no clean way for me to find out a way to enter. Hits the low side and starts reversing back up. Clearly, we're in a bearish pull down now. So I'm looking for reasons to go short. Break of this gray channel, which isn't the best, but it looks like what prices are doing. Bounces. Looks like it's in a sideways consolidation again. Fail breakout here. Creates a potential fail breakout on this side. I'm not eager to go long because of the overall context is bearish. Kind of chops around. I'm just watching and waiting now. I'm also just pretty okay with just taking my 2 trades for the day and leaving it at that. Plus, it's getting late in the day, so I wasn't going to try to make anything happen. And even though I'm not going long, when I look back and I saw this is such a big move going short, prices could definitely keep going short, but do I want to risk it at the end of the day that prices are now going to just keep continuing for a trade for me? When most likely anybody that was going short on a big swing trade is probably going to start booking profits. So I could see some volatility, some bounce recovery to the long side. So that just kind of gave me more reasons to just stay put, sit on my hands. I drew this yellow down channel thinking, okay, prices are probably moving in here. It fits somewhat here, but it fits nicely at the high side, which is making me more short biased. Breaks to the low side. Technically a first entry short. You have a second entry short, it's inside bar, nothing good there. Again, pushes down. Now it's just moving sideways. It's moving into the last 30 minutes where I'm very reluctant to take a trade now. Now it's just moving sideways. Again, it pushes down. And it's a new low. Technically, you have a first entry short, pull back. Second entry short failure. But if you look at the time of day, it's just too late in the day to try to take a trade now. Kind of pushes, gets a little whippy, and pushes into the close. So today, definitely, I mean, there were some areas where price action got really, I guess, rapid because it oscillated quickly, but I think it's because of the news items coming out. Trump came out, said a bunch of things. Then there was news items about him potentially saying a bunch of things, a lot of speculation, a lot of non-official economic news that came out that definitely affects the markets. So just getting two trades I'm pretty happy with. I'm hoping for surprisingly more days like this. Not necessarily the weird news coming out, but just more volume, more opportunities. So hopefully that was helpful.